Or I guess less than 10 seconds. We're live.
Okay. We're live. Okay, 10 seconds and we're live.
Yeah, I'll get the timing.
Transition.
I'll get the timing down
Here's to you.
eventually. There's nobody watching right now, at least
Good,
according to
good.
my stats.
I should start like a little intro segment. And right now I'm drinking the Keurig no name medium roast, and it's pretty good.
We go with the Costco big box of like just random Tim Hortons packs. You get your pods for like less than 15 cents a pod.
See, I used to be an espresso snob, but right now it's like, you know what? This is going to do just fine. Cool. So, you ready to get this going?
Yes.
This
Where's
was
my
a hard
showdown?
Yeah, the topic stuff, like I was saying before we started recording, this made my brain hurt for a little bit. Okay, so let's go.
Awesome.
Welcome to Cardboard Conjecture. I'm your host, Norm.
And I'm Ryan.
And on this episode, some games of late, some news. And Ryan, what is our topic?
It's the designer series, but we don't have a guest tonight, so we're actually gonna go. We're gonna fly it duo, and we're gonna give our top 5 favorite designers.
Yeah. Cool. Coming back in. And welcome back. This is Cardboard Conjecture. Let's do some games of late. Ryan, take the lead, please.
Sure. So I've already mentioned back a couple episodes ago that Jen and I have been playing Imperial Steam by Capstone Games, and it's been a fantastic experience. We've been playing it a little bit more. I'm not going to talk about that because I talked about that. I'm talking about that on What You've Been Playing Wednesday. So I'm going to jump into a different train game, which is Railroad Revolution, designed by Marco Canetta and Stefani Nicolini. Oh gosh, I butchered that one. Published by What's Your Game, which is a company we don't hear too often about anymore. I don't know if they're really producing new material or anything like that. I have to actually
Would have to do some research.
I have to do some research on that because
Do some homework. Yeah.
Because we both really love What's Your Game games.
Mhm.
There's been a few of them, Signore and Nippon.
Yeah.
And we've been playing Railroad Revolution, which is a game I've had for a while now, and it just doesn't seem to hit the table very often. So when I did bring it out, my wife, Jen, when I had it all laid out on the table, and she looked at it and she's like, "Oh yeah, I remember this one." And as we got going, she was like, "Oh, this one's much nicer than that Imperial Steam game that we've been playing."
Less things to think about.
There is less things to think about. So Railroad Revolution is kind of like a worker placement type of game where you're going to be taking some workers and you're going to be selecting actions on your player board. And a really cool thing about this is that, well, first off, there's only 4 actions that you can do in Railroad Revolution as opposed to the 11 actions that you can do in Imperial Steam. Much nicer because there's laying the railroad tracks, building your houses out onto the map. There is building a house out onto the Western Union thing down at the bottom of the board. And then there is to do the trade action, which is also to get you some money. What's a really cool thing about this, which has kind of got a lot of this DNA in across all the What's Your Game games, is that there's different colored workers. And in this game, the different colored workers, when you place them down on the worker placement spot, gives you some sort of extra bonus to that particular action. So one that I can remember off the top of my head is that if I have an orange colored worker and I do the building your house out onto the map action, I can actually build that house for free. I don't actually have to pay the cost at the top of the town, which is really, really quite beneficial early on. Lots of really, really cool things. And one of the big point scoring opportunities in this game is that there's a whole bunch of like contracts that you can try to fulfill. And these contracts would be like, maybe an A level contract was to have a building in a level 1 town and also have some railroad track on these different types of terrain. There's different types of terrain that cost extra money. And then once I fulfilled that one, there's actually an action that you have to take to fulfill that one. I can get a level B contract, which is a little bit tougher, a little bit got to push yourself across the map a little bit more. And then there's level C contracts, level D contracts, and they're all worth more and more points. I killed it at this game because I ended up completing a level D contract, and I also, on my other side, I also got a level C contract. I almost got 2 level D contracts.
Cool.
And then another major point scoring opportunity in this game is that there's 3 tracks along the side of the board, which will give you bonus points if you say, oh, there's one track where it's the Western Union track, multiplier for every house that you have along the Western Union board. Or there's a multiplier for every house that you have out onto the board. And there's a multiplier if you can connect to the far west city, the level 5 cities type of thing. So those are like the big point scoring opportunities in this game, completing those contracts and going up on those tracks to get those multipliers. This game is so much fun. I forgot how much fun this one was. And it was a good brain, like there are some juicy decisions to be made every now and then. That's our word. That's our delicious. That's what it is. Delicious decisions to be made in this game.
Vanilla chocolate. Oh, Rocky Road. Yeah.
Oh, that's what this one is, because the triangles, the difficult terrain cost you extra money to go across. So a lot of rocky roads to go upon on there. Railroad Revolution. We played with the variant because apparently I totally did not know this was a thing, but apparently out there on the interwebs that there are people that were complaining that the Western Union multiplier track is a little bit the better strategy to go towards.
Some say the easiest way to say it is someone broke the game.
If you get a whole bunch, and it's a benefit to go down to that Western Union spot, because there's lots of good at the cost of that you have to spend workers in order to take some of those bonuses, but there is lots of good bonuses down along there, and it seemed to be very easy to go up on that one little track to max it out and then get maximum number of points. We played with the variant because there's some increment levels where it says, hey, if you cross this threshold, pay 50. Cross this threshold, 100. Yeah. We found that would have been very easy. We played with the variant where the designers came out and said, okay, change those thresholds to $500 and $1,000, $1,000. Little bit more difficult to do because getting $1,000 in this game or having $1,000 to spend on that track, a little bit more costly.
And the designers were so dedicated to it that they put out a expansion update, which I lucked out and picked up for my copy. And they could change the board, like you get a new board because that bottom spread of choices has changed a bit in relationship to that track adjustment that you talked about. So they went ahead and they dedicated an expansion to it. So
if there was anything that is what we would refer to as a must-have expansion, this seems to be, from what I've read on threads, this seems to be a must-have, and it's at this point in time, it's quite difficult to find. Every now and then it does pop up in some online stores or anything like that. There's a copy on BGG right now for $120 for just the expansion, which I'm just like, I don't know if I can pull that. I've done worse in the past, but I think I've grown up.
We won't talk about that. No, we don't.
No. This is also coming from the guy who thinks he needs a gigantic Galactus miniature.
Oh no! No, don't go down that route.
Cool. It was funny. So, Ian on the show, Ian, who used to be on the show, saw my tweet where I was like, "Hey, I'm done with these over the top Simon miniatures." And then I say Simon posts this picture of giant Galactus, and I go, "Damn it."
Yeah, after this one.
And then Ian responded, "No, Ryan, no."
Cool.
So, Railroad Revolution. That was Railroad Revolution.
What's your game? I love their lineup. I love their a suite of designers that work with them too. So absolutely,
they're very good. Yeah, Nippon, Signore, Django, Railroad Revolution, Asgard, which is a game I have, but I haven't yet to play it. But
but repertoire is there, so nice. I got the opportunity to, and this is weird. I got the opportunity to play a game that came out in 20. I'm going to bring up the stats here. I believe it came out in 2013. And am I seeing this? Yeah, 2013. Now here's here's the conundrum, or here's the thing that makes my eyebrow go up is that when the and I'll talk about the game specifically. This game's called Maquis, and it came out in 2013, designed by Jake Staines, and currently is published by, because they just did a Kickstarter, by Side Room Games. And Side Room Games, for those solo gamers who know, they came up with Black Sonata, which is the Shakespeare story. They came up with Orchard, which is like Squire for Hire, where you place cards down and overlap them and try to synergistically make this point scoring system. And there's a current one called Grove, which is in the same style as that. But Maquis, what made my eyebrow go up is that 2013, this is a solo game. This is a one player only game that relatively didn't exist in 2013. I mean, I think they just started liking co-op games, let alone solo games. So right there, that's a standout for me. And I think that was one of the reasons why they brought this game back. Now, what Maquis is, and again, the history buff in me, because I teach it, it is, you play the French Resistance in World War II in Paris, I believe. And there's two sides of the river, which, oh man, makes it so difficult. But the objective is, you have this, it's a worker placement game. You have a small board map of a city. Now, with the connections of all of these locations on this map, because it's a worker placement, you have to have places for your workers to go. They generate resources necessary to this idea of a French resistance. So there's going to be food, there's going to be medicine, there's going to be forged documents, there's going to be bomb makers, there's all of this kind of anti-war resistance thematic connections. Now, the board itself is laid out that there's a route that you can go, and it's very cat and mouse, because let's get to the main objective. Every game, you have two missions that you have to accomplish that are connected to the top of the board. Now, the idea is you put your workers out one at a time. So you put your worker out, then you draw where the militia, la milice of patrolling the area, put them down. So they start blocking off certain places. Now, in a worker placement, yeah, that's a drag, but this is the difficult part. When you go to retrieve your workers, if you can't track a clean map back to your safe house, you get arrested and that worker's gone from the game. So there's this depletion thing. In the game as well, there's these 3 empty rooms, one across the river that's close to these mission outlets that you have to get to, and 2 on the other side of the river. Now, the missions, the scale so beautifully. There's level 1, level 2, level 3. And there's multiples. I think there's 5 in each category. And when you get your missions, you have this pool of houses or buildings that you can build in these spare rooms. And they go everything from forgery to bomb making, depending on the mission that you have. So when you get these missions out, you have to think, okay, now what rooms do I need to create in order for me to accomplish this? And there's a timer. You get 15 turns to get this done. Oh my, is this ever, it's just a scratcher. Like I sat down, figured it out, and it learns quick. And it says it's about 30 minutes, which is 20 to 30 minutes, which is, on point. And I played 6 games just about back to back, just because it was like, so close, so close. And the
just
tension.
Just one more time.
Yeah, and you have a couple extra resistance workers in the wings, because it's a worker placement. You need to have more workers, right? So there's this balance of, if you got more workers, then more patrol comes out. If you eliminate this milice, it gets replaced by a soldier, which is you can't get rid of. So, man, does this thing ratchet up fast, and does it come down, in and oh, I'm having so much fun with this. I definitely, I know you don't play solo games solo, but I got to pass this on to you because, wow, this is a brain burner in a little package.
Seems interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the nerd part of me while I'm playing, because I played my setup here. So I'm playing and I'm like, I gotta add one more dimension to this. So I went on YouTube and I looked up old French resistance music from World War II Paris, and all of a sudden put Edith Piaf in the background, and it was awesome. It was awesome. I was there. Immersion.
Sweet.
Cool. So yeah, that was Maquis by Jake Staines and published by Sad Room Games. So any solo gamers out there, get it.
Getting that solo on.
Get it. All right. Coming in for some news. You ready for it?
Yep.
And thank you so much. We're back. This is Cardboard Conjecture. Ryan. It's
the news.
All right, take it away. I tried to get that 1920s thing. The news.
Beautiful. Nailed it. 100%. Okay, what we got going on here? We got Cosmos Games teasing and announcing some new titles for 2022. So over here on BGG in the news section, saying Cosmos has got a bunch of teasers and announcements up. One of the big ones when you click on the link here is that there is a Reiner Knizia My City roll and write game. So My City was a hugely popular, hugely successful legacy type game where it was the polyominoes and the kind of like the flip and fill it in with the tiles on your board, and everything progressed. There was something like 24 games to play through, and it played very, very fast. We really enjoyed it. I highly recommend that you pick it up. And yeah, now it looks like that there's going to be a roll and write version of this game, and that is really they're teasing. And I think it's going to be I'm trying to read quickly here, but I don't know if this is going to be a legacy game. Roll and write.
That would be interesting.
Oh, no,
roll and write, that's a legacy.
It says is a dice game in which over 4 chapters, each with 3 rounds, you create a unique city. During the construction process, you face new challenges every time. The dice roll determines which buildings players have to draw on their own sheet, and whoever scores the most points wins. So very basic. Sounds like, and look, just the cover of it looks like there's those polyomino shapes going to be coming forward. Okay, and then they announced, looks like there was a game that came out, was called The Adventures of Robin Hood. It was designed by Michael Menzel. It was nominated for the Kennerspiel de Jahres this year. And it looks like there's going to be an expansion to that game. I don't think I've seen it here in Canada, or at least in Saskatoon. I haven't seen it pop up in any of our game stores, The Adventures of Robin Hood, but it seems pretty interesting. Legends of Endor Jr. is getting an expansion.
I have the Andor here. I haven't cracked it for Daniel yet, so I think that's going to put that on my list of things to do.
One of my favorite game series of all time, The Exit. They kind of teased and announcing the Exit, the game series for 2022. And the one that I'm most excited for, and I think you'd be excited for, is that there's a Lord of the Rings themed Exit game coming. Schatten über Mittelländer, which they haven't. I don't know what that actually translates into English, but it's a Lord of the Rings themed entry. And then they also got some other ones here. It looks like one's called The Legacy of the World Traveler, and another one of the puzzle, the one with the jigsaw puzzles in it, called The Pirate's Gold, is also.
That high seas theme. I'm getting pulled to it. I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's that old Errol Flynn stuff from my youth.
Oh, it's just yo ho ho and a bottle of rum.
Oh no. Cool.
Okay, and then they're also announcing that there's going to be another adventure game, which I kind of attribute. It's kind of like the Exit games, but it's kind of more narrative based in the puzzle solving nature, where you kind of go on, quote unquote, an adventure. And this one's called Expedition as Canetta. And yeah, it looks really easy. I've played a couple of these adventure games. They're really, really neat. They take about 3 sessions to play through. Each session's about an hour to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
To play through the entire story, which is really, really kind of cool. And then there looks like they're teasing or they're releasing information about this new thing called Carta Ventura.
Mm-hmm.
A narrative card game in which players build an adventure using cards that can offer them different choices during play. Map cards, player action cards, consulting. Like it's a co-op adventure, and looks like there's 3 of them coming in initially. One's called Vinland, one's called Lhasa, and one's Oklahoma. And so these look really interesting. These look very, very interesting. So I can't wait to see what they have to in store. They sound very much in line, kind of like these adventure games. Yeah. But more like you said, there's going to be maps for you to explore on and stuff like that. So
yeah, the artwork looks great.
Yeah, very so appealing. I'm really interested. And then it looks like there's another mystery solving type of game. Cosmos is going to be, they're going to get all of my money here with these
rolling
types of
it out.
A game called Suspects, a cooperative mystery solving game. Looks like it originated from Studio H Games, and they got 3 titles coming out in 2022 here, which look really kind of, I'm interested. It's like that solving, I'm assuming it's going to be solving some sort of puzzle, but you're solving a mystery. Logic deduction, that's kind of my jam. I love doing that kind of stuff.
My take on the theme and the art is that it's this film noir 1930s 40s ish kind of thing.
I'm getting a very Nancy Drew aesthetic kind of coming off of this, which is really awesome.
Cool.
And then looks like Cosmos is picking up some popular titles from over here in the US. Looks like Cascadia is getting picked up by Cosmos to get more European distribution there. And some other games that are also picking up Catch the Moon, which I don't know much about. And then there's that Harry Potter, the Goblet thing, majigger. I'm not
the House Cup competition.
There we go. I just triggered every single Harry Potter listener that listens to this show.
What?
Oh, so yeah, really, really cool. Cosmos got lots of stuff coming out in 2022 and gonna take all of my money.
I was just gonna say, and you're broke.
Speaking of spending money, why don't you go head on over to Cool Stuff Inc., who has partnered with Tasty Minstrel Games to liquidate their remaining inventory, because Tasty Minstrel Games has found themselves in a little bit of financial difficulties. I don't know if they're going to be a company I'm pretty sure they're not going to be a company anymore. And they've partnered up with Cool Stuff Inc. here to liquidate their remaining stock. So if you can head on over to coolstuffinc.com, it's an American-based web company, but there are quite a few different things on here. So like there's your At the Gates of Loyang, one of Norm's favorite games that he loves. Everything is on sale there. You can get the Belfort bundle, the re-released version of Belfort in the expansions, Chimera Station, Crusaders, They Will Be Done. Yeah. And they have like the deluxeified versions of some of these games. I don't know if Dave from Board on the Air. Yeah. He's been looking for a Gentees deluxeified. Hey, Dave, you can head on over to Cool Stuff Inc. $80.
You taunter.
$80 there. Gugon.
There's a lot of really good, solid titles here.
Yeah. One thing that I will tout here, the Guilds of London bundle, that is an amazing game at an amazing price. $32 gets you the game and the expansion to Guilds of London. Highly recommend going to check that one out and pick that one up.
Well, and I'm scrolling, like Trade on the Tigris. If you like your trading games, this one's $20.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's Jeff Engelstein. And this is a great game. Great game.
If you ever missed out on the Yokohama Deluxe Edition, you can pick that one up. That was a very popular title by them.
Scoville? Oh, it's sold out.
Yeah, Scoville sold out. I'm surprised by. Actually, I'm not surprised. Scoville is actually an amazing game.
Okay, if you're speaking of our topic, our designers, there's Luna Deluxified bundle.
Yes, they re-released Luna with some deluxe. So that Deluxified bundle gets you the base game, and then there's a box that has all these upgraded components, screen printed meeples, metal coins, lots of different things. And you can also get it looks like it's out of stock, the neoprene playmat for Luna. But yeah, Tasty Minstrel Games in some big trouble. Now, some of these bundles, some of these are not liquidating prices. They're still just trying to save face a little bit, but this sale is running till December 31st, it says.
I was going to say, yeah, you'll have some time to get the last week blowouts.
Yeah, I really hope that they if they start diminishing those prices a little bit as the sale goes on. Yeah, they ain't gonna last long.
Tempted. Homesteaders bundle. Oh, I'm so tempted. Okay, let's move on.
Yes. Let's move on to a different thing that could spend our money is Kickstarter.
Yeah. Hey.
And one that I put in here was there's 3 new Valeria themed games, and Valeria is a universe of games that I've really invested a lot in. I've got all of the Card Kingdoms games, which is a fantastic drafting type of game. There's some other ones, like there's a dice worker placement game called Shadows of Valeria. There's Margraves of Valeria. There's lots of Valeria themed games. It's a really cool universe that they've created. And now they've got 3 new ones, and they're kind of like 3 standalone games, but they're very small games that they're bundling together here for you. So there is Dice Kingdoms of Valeria, which is going to be a roll and write type of game. Very basic type. There is the Siege of Valeria, which is a solo game, Norm.
What?
It's a solo tower defense.
Got my attention.
Yep. And then there's Thrones of Valeria, which is a trick-taking game. So 3 very unique styles of games that you can get all bundled together here for, I believe they're going, all 3 games, $75.
Oh, wow.
Gets you all of them. And yeah, I
You're
just thought
getting this right.
I think I got to complete my Valeria collection. I have everything Valeria.
Well, then it's done. Click it.
Well, I think it's already been clicked, like well before that we recorded this show.
Cool.
Yeah. So if you're into Valeria and you don't know what the Valeria universe is, check out this Kickstarter, because I believe in the Pledge Manager you're going to be able to pick up lots of the other Valeria type of games. Card Kingdoms is an amazing game. It is the game that completely fired and replaced Maki Koro and Space Base for me.
Oh yeah, you were saying that.
So love Valeria Card Kingdoms. So there we go. I believe that is the news, unless if you have anything else.
No, I mean, you already got me interested in buying some stuff, so well
there
done.
We go.
Well done.
We have to really retheme the name of this show about it's like
cardboard consumption.
You look at you and your alliterations.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Nice.
And my apologies. Yeah, we'll have Cardboard Conjecture, the consumption edition. Yeah.
The consumption edition.
Yeah. All right. Hey, that made it on. I just have to answer this, and then we'll come back in.
Sure.
And I'll put it on mute.
Live. This is real.
Yeah.
This is real. This is real time having to deal with family issues.
Do we have to pay LucasArts a licensing fee for having a Jawa on our show?
Never.
No, actually, it said Rotini, so we're good. We're good.
Rotini.
Coming back in. And welcome back. This is Cardboard Conjecture. We're going to do topic, and Ryan, hit us up with that topic again.
Sure. So we're going to do the designer series this time around, except for instead of bringing a designer onto the show, we're going to talk about our favorite designers. Yeah. And I believe we've each created a top 5 ranked, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yep. Okay, good. That's what I did.
Painfully ranked. Painfully. Because before, we got a couple little kind of teasers to like talk about before we get into our list, and talking about the pain. How about we talk about up and coming, like people that you think potential to make this list in the future if they're on the right track. So
100%.
Yeah. What about you? Give us one.
So for me, my design. My first one here is it's a design team.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure this is a design team that I have been really enjoying lately. If you've been listening to Cardboard Conjecture the past little while, I've mentioned them quite often. And this is the Flat Out Games design team of Molly Johnston, Robert Melvin, and Sean Stankwich. And they've created lots of really good family type of games lately. Point Salad is one that we've really, really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Dollars to Donuts has been one that we've really, really enjoyed. And they've got a slew of other titles that are out there. Truffle Shuffle.
Calico.
But they didn't design.
Oh, that's right. The design
Calico.
team. It was the publishing. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I'm talking about the ones that they actually designed.
We should do a publishing house one after. But yes, so designers. Yes.
Yeah. So Molly Johnston, Robert Melvin, Sean Stankwich, they are on my up and coming. Even though I believe they've been doing this for quite some time already. Yeah. But they are ones that I'm paying attention to, and if their names are on a box, I'm most likely picking up to at least try, because what I've played of theirs so far knocked it out of the park.
Cool.
Point Salad, again, one of my favorite drafting games, and then of course Dollars to Donuts has been a lot of fun. There's a really cool take on the tile laying mechanic.
Cool. You've talked about, I mean, that publishing house is they got a knack for bringing in really great designers. So yes, well done. Mine, I just popped it into the show notes. And this designer, Johnny Pack, has started to really pop onto my radar. And like, okay, this is one I don't have, but Dave has it, and he's raving about it. Merchant's Cove. I have Coloma. I have Sierra West. I'm trying to get a hold of Fistful of Meeples. Just recently, he put out Lines of Lydia.
That was a Johnny Pack game. I've heard a lot. I heard a lot about that one.
I know, right? Mm-hmm. It's all of a sudden you're like, wait. I've heard a lot of stuff. Sierra West. What a fun worker placement deck, card drafting system. It's just, wow. There's just so many smooth, Euro mechanical interpretations that he's working on, and he also it's not listed on here, but I think a co-designer on one of the Glenmore 2, the Highland Games expansion.
Yeah, one of the modules.
Yeah, I saw his name on there. So keep doing this. I'm digging it.
Nice.
Which is kind of a pun on Coloma, because they're digging for gold. Sorry.
Beauty.
All right, you got another one, another up and comer.
Yeah, now he's not brand new to the board gaming industry, but what he's released lately has been really awesome stuff, and this is Luke Laurie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call him the revolutionary in the worker placement type of games, because his games are trying to do something different, it seems, with the worker placement mechanic. Whistle Mountain was my first introduction to Luke Laurie, where he collaborated with Scott Caputo in that Whistle universe, where they created a worker placement game where you're kind of creating the worker placement spots out onto the board, and depending on how you lay out the tiles, you then put an airship next to those tiles, and whatever the airship is touching, that is the resources that you're going to gather. And so the players are creating the spots, And then there's special tiles that go out and about. Cryo was another worker placement game, which was really had a really cool theme. And it also had this mechanic that, once you place out all your workers and you have to bring them all back, when you bring them all back, usually you don't get to do anything. But in this game, when you bring them all back, they take actions on your player board. So neat, unique timing mechanisms there. He had a great big box game that I don't know if you can see it right about there. Dwellings of Eldervale.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Which is another big, grandiose, lots of miniatures, worker placement style game with asymmetrical factions. And had that, again, that mechanic, though, when you recall your workers, they bring them back. And then, yes, Manhattan Projects, which is the one I have not played, Energy Empire. Luke Laurie is one of those names that I think that when his name pops up, I'm paying attention to because I really enjoyed all these other games that he has put out in a very short amount of time.
Cool. Yeah, I highly approve of that one. My next one is, again, one of those designers, been on the scene for a while, but it's just lately that I kind of went, yes, I'm dialing in what you're putting out. Sorry for the hipster doofus language. But this is Shem Phillips, and Paladins of the West Kingdom. That one definitely scratched the itch on the heavy, deep Euro need, and so that's where I started with him, and then basically, reverse engineered. And so I went on and got Architects of the West Kingdom. I've played a few with you, the Raiders series, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Shipwrights I played with you. The Explorers, I believe. So I'm really appreciating how he goes about with the idea of design and interpreting mechanisms. Which one is it where when you take off a worker, you get to do an action as well? I think that's
Raiders of the North Sea.
Yeah. Now again, because I'm so unfamiliar with that series, I believe I have the app and I haven't started playing it yet. But shame on me. And also the art, the Miko, that drew me in just as much as the beautiful gameplay on these games. So Shem Phillips. And of course, we have the Shemmies. So, now, I was going to put on this list, but and again, you'll probably go, yeah. And I didn't want it to consider pandering, but lately, I've been loving what Jay Cormier and Senfun Lim have been doing and working on. Mind management. It's one of my favorite hidden movement games right now. So that is the unofficial Canadian sorry, this should be on the list, but so yeah, those that's mine.
Right on. Now, who just barely did not make your list?
Oh, okay, I won't go into a great explanation. I'm just going to tell you, bang, 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 the three that were like I told you before we started recording, that were cycling, the four that were cycling for that fifth position. So the three that missed it, like in any order, and there was one that your jaw's gonna drop. So Corey Kineska. Okay. Rebellion, love it. Alexander Pfister, just missed my list. And Uwe Rosenberg, just missed my list.
Cool.
So that's how difficult this list has been, because I'm looking at Rosenberg dropping. I'm like, but okay, okay.
But.
And I told you that my idea was, what game would I rather play? A game from this section of designer games, or this one? And that's how I differentiated my list. So, cool. Which were the ones that just missed your list?
Okay, so I got 5 that didn't make my list. But they all have their valid reasons. So in my top, so you won't find in my top 5, but you'll definitely find in my top 10. Reiner Knizia is not in my top 5. fantastic designer. Love his games. Tigris and Euphrates, still one of the
Agreed.
greatest games ever made. Also, Alexander Pfister did not make my top 5.
Yeah.
Great games. Great
Top
games.
10 though. Top 10.
Top 10. Vladimir Suhi did not make my top 5. Great designer. Love games.
Yeah.
Pulsar. Shipyard, you mentioned always. And, oh God, I'm driving.
Kaput.
Yeah. Praga Kaput Regni. Phil Walker Harding did not make my top 5. Still love him.
Top 10 though.
He makes fantastic family weight games, which we really, really enjoy.
Agree.
And coming in at number 6, the one that just fell off the list, Stefan Feld.
Oh, stop.
Stefan Feld is not in the top 5.
Controversy.
Controversy.
Cardboard controversy. Okay, well,
but still great designer. Love most
top
of his.
10.
I was gonna say I'm not gonna love all of his games. I love most of his games. I really enjoy most of his games. He does have a couple stinkers out there, but that's okay.
You can't hit home runs every time.
Can't hit home runs all the time.
All right. So how about you start off? You said you're number 6. How about you give up your number 5?
Okay, so the guy that bumped off Stefan Feld out of the list, and it's the pure enjoyment of the games that he makes. My number 5 is Corey Kineska.
Okay.
And every time that I play Twilight Imperium 4, I have a fantastic, absolute blast time. Star Wars Rebellion has created so many memories for me. Star Wars Outer Rim, right about there, over there. Imperial Assault I've held. Oh my gosh. And then his new game out there, The Initiative, gave us a really fun experience in the puzzle solving nature. Really looking forward to what more he develops. And I'm still trying to track down some of his older titles like Forbidden Stars. I really wish I could find a copy of that one for a reasonable price.
Hint
out there. Make a great Christmas present to Cardboard Conjecture. Just saying.
Just throwing that out there.
Throwing it out there. But and then we had the pleasure of talking with Corey on the show not too long ago, and I was in I barely said 2 words the entire episode. I was starstruck. I was starstruck, even though he's just he's such a nice guy, very down to earth, very humble. In where he's been and how he's got to where he is and stuff like that. And
the Big Lebowski would call him a dude.
Yeah, he was a dude.
He was a dude.
So number 5, Corey Kineska. Thank you for creating Twilight Imperium 4, one of my favorite games of all time. And all those memories. Star Wars Rebellion. That is how he captured Star Wars in a box.
Yeah. Just the games that you and I have. Han Solo blowing up the Death Star. I mean, the narrative, the memories.
And he had his hand in designing Star Wars Destiny. That the collectible dice collectible card game that had dice mechanics to it, which I really enjoyed, and then I was really bummed that they canceled the series, but I'll get over it. I have lots of Destiny.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you that he made your top 5 so that we could talk about it. Because, like I said, he just missed mine, right? And I think the tipping point was the TI, right? So,
absolutely.
Okay, so my number. This is interesting how we're kind of the top 5 and the bottom 5 for shifting, because you had mentioned somebody that didn't make still a top 10. But he made my top 5, and that is Vladimir Suhi. And so for me, I've got I think a title that you've not played that is, to me, what grounded me into absolutely adoring how he designs games in that Shipyard. I got a hold of Shipyard early on when we jumped into this hobby, and from there. Underwater Cities is Underwater Cities is one of my favorite engine building games. I'll hands down play that over Terraforming Mars every day of the week. Not to offend anybody, but that one scratched the itch. Terraforming Mars, nah, not so much. I mean, I get it; it's a brilliant game, but it just didn't click like Underwater Cities and the expansion too. And I'm now starting to venture into Praga Kaput Regni, and you've given it some very positive reviews or first place kind of thing. And Pulsar 2849, when I played that a couple times with you at school, and instantly fell in love with it. Like I now I'm looking at my collection going, why don't I own that game?
Oh, yeah, it is. It's got a Stefan Feld feel to it, but it's got that Vladimir Suchy charm.
Yeah,
About the whole aesthetic and the combo building and
the connectivity.
Everything's connected. Everything with Vladimir Suchy is always connected.
Yeah,
he manages to design games where you can't just solely focus on one thing.
Yeah,
You have to do other things, and everything's in a combo together at some form. And you're gonna be successful in his games once you find a combo.
Yeah,
And exploit it.
Yeah, he's all about the synergy of how things are related. Now, Last Will and the Prodigals Club; those are two titles I want to try out next in this. But again, I have enough right now of his content to keep me happy. Absolutely. So Vladimir Suchy.
Vladimir Suchy. Okay.
Now, what your number 4?
My number 4 is a designer that I accidentally forgot his name on the show once. And I've got a whole stack of his games right behind me if you're watching this on YouTube. And that is Vital Lacerda.
Cool.
And I think it's the level of detail in his designs that really draw me into what he does. We just mentioned Vladimir Suchy and how things combo together. Vital Lacerda does something in a similar vein where mechanics are intertwined.
Yeah.
It like we always mentioned that it's kind of like you have to follow a recipe almost in certain cases. We're like, I need to do A before I do B so that I can accomplish C. And that is a Vital Lacerda game through and through. So like, how do I score the points? Well, I score the points by doing this. But how I do that effectively is that I need to do these other things. And how I do those things is that I got to take this action.
Yeah.
You have to reverse engineer it sometimes in order to get. And his games are grandiose. On Mars is a grandiose game. It is physically big on the table, and there's so much complexity. And that's the thing about Vital Lacerda that I really enjoy. I think he's my most complex designer that I have on my top 5 list, but for some reason that just draws me in. I need to figure this out. First, I gotta learn the game. Learning the game is a game in itself.
It's like a seminar class.
Yes. And so, man, one of my very first exposure to Vital Lacerda was Vinos. Ian owns one of the original editions of Vinos.
Yeah.
And man, that just opened my eyes to, I'm like, wow. Okay, the actions themselves are very simple, but the game system is very complex.
Yeah.
And there's some things have little sub rules to them all over the place.
Yeah.
So good.
Cool.
Vinos. Lisboa, I think, is still my favorite Lacerda. Lisboa is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
On Mars is really, really good. The Gallerist is amazing. Kanban, I have very limited experience, but I've enjoyed my little plays every now and then. So, man. And then Weather Machine is out on Kickstarter right now. I'm backing it because I have to have it. Have to.
Complete the collection.
Yeah. Actually, if there was a designer in my top 5 that I've played his games the least amount of times, it's probably Vital Lacerda. Just because
you need a break.
oh gosh, yes. And he's not Jen's favorite designer. She enjoys complex games, but she tries the line at Lacerda.
Nah. All right.
That's my number 4.
Okay, well, my number 4, I'm just gonna throw out a phrase there, and I'm pretty sure you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. And this designer is known for the complexity of his simplicity. And my number 4 is Vital Lacerda. That's very funny.
That's awesome.
For all the same reasons and different reasons, because I've yet to play On Mars, I've yet to play Vinos, but I have Kanban, the originals. I think it's a Stronghold edition, and yeah, I mean, I can't get enough of that game because it's the connectivity. I mean, and Lacerda, the simplicity of it. Well, it's one worker. You just put one worker down and you pick one thing. But then the trigger, the cascading results of the it's like watching a plinko go down and you're like, oh, did I set this up in the right way? No, you took the card that I need. You knew that, and I know, and I hate you for it, right? So there's all of that drama for me when it comes to Lacerda. In did you plan out everything properly? Like you mentioned, the idea of reverse engineering, and you have to with him. But you keep forgetting that there's other people playing the game too.
Right? Do not play. So I want to play Lacerda games, but do not play a Lacerda game with me, because if you mess up my plan, we are spending the next 15 minutes of me trying to figure out a new plan.
Yeah. I have CO2. I love CO2. And the Gallerist. I played a lot of Gallerist with you, and it's you put your piton, and once it's just pick one spot, do the action.
Yeah.
Right.
Lisboa. Play a card, pick a card.
Yeah. Lisboa.
It's easy.
He's the only designer I know that breaks my brain, and I love it. It's like Slurpee headaches, right? It's like, oh, there you go. Oh, okay, do it again. Oh, right.
Why did I do this myself? It's so good.
Yeah,
why did I do this myself? It's so good.
I know. So I just find that so funny that we both hit it at the same spot in number 4. So Vital for me, absolutely.
Lacerda.
And I want to be playing some On Mars. So hint, right?
Wink,
Hint.
Nudge.
All right, you're number 3.
Number 3, getting into the top 3, husband and wife duo, Marcus and Inca Brand is my number 3.
Wow,
love what they do. Village was my first experience of Marcus and Inca Brand.
Yeah.
Loved that game. Rajas of the Ganges is a fantastic dice worker placement game of things connecting together. And of course, one of my favorite series that they've created of all time is the Exit the Game escape room in a box on your dining room table experiences. I've done them all. I got them all lined up here on my shelf just behind me. I keep the box of every exit game that I've ever created, and they've done
like
1,
a trophy
2, 3,
on the wall.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I've done 14 Exit the Game games, and I've got a small stack behind me of that. I had the ones that I have not completed yet. So
I should make you little plaques for them, and you can mount them on the wall, like success.
I'm trying to think of something creative, like with hot glue, like sticking them all together or something like that. You introduced me to Murano, which I absolutely fell in love with. I went and got found my own copy online. What they do is, I kind of want them to return back to the board gaming world. They've been pouring lots of heart and soul into that Exit the Game series. I think that takes up lots of their design time, but they really need to come back to the board gaming world, because Rajas of the Ganges, Murano.
Well, what's the legacy game they did?
Rise of Queensdale was a fantastic legacy type game. Marcus and Inca Brand, the German husband and wife couple, that they are so good at what they do. Please come back to the board gaming world. I still want more Exit the Games, but I enjoy tabletop games too.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. Please, more beans, please.
More beans, please. More wooden meeples to push around, please.
Okay, so that's a great segue because my number three, when we're talking about cube pushing, this is the classic um, point salad cube pushing Stefan Feld glory. Love me, my Stefan Feld. I think you can see the little, there we go. There's my little Stefan Feld section right there. And I think also because he Stefan Feld, as far as a designer and as far as a game, Castles of Burgundy, was my first, like kind of. I'm not the type to dip my toe in the pool. I'm a cannonball kind of person, right? And when I cannonballed into the Euros, Castles of Burgundy, you showed me that one, and immediately my brain went, this is a lot of options. I like it. My ADHD brain went crazy because of all the, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. Hey, wait, if I do this, I could do this. Oh, wait, if this comes in, this will affect. And I was just happy, so happy until you started taking the stuff that I needed. And then I realized, oh, this has got some depth and level to it where I have to tactically be able to shift and move and yeah. So I mean, Trajan, when that came out, that,
oh my God, I love Trajan.
yes, right. And then I've played Bruges with you and lucked out and got a copy, my own copy. Bruges, what a fantastic multi-use card game. I mean, that when we went into the mechanics series, to me that was on the forefront of figured it out early on in his career, kind of thing. I mentioned Castles of Burgundy, Bora Bora. Oh wow, that is such a fun dice choice game, and it's not take that, but it's sort of it's not take that. It's just kind of nudge the person out of the way and benefit from their misery kind of game. Notre Dame. I think one of the earlier card drafting games.
Yeah.
The way that the actions. Oh yeah. So for me, that I haven't played Bonfire, and you rave about Bonfire.
Bonfire is his most complex game I think that he's created. Like Luna was a very complex game. Bonfire is a little bit more complex than that.
I have Merlin. Merlin's another one that I loved, and that was, I wonder now, Delphi. A lot of people have been not like hot and cold on Delphi, and I've yet to play that one. So, and again, I'm absolutely content with the library that Macau. I didn't even talk about Macau. I love Macau.
Yeah.
Right. So if
and you still haven't even mentioned Aquasphere.
Yeah.
I don't think you've played
Program
Aquasphere.
Movement. I played it a couple times.
Yeah.
Right. It didn't hit it for me. I mean, he's got such a range of games that you can be selective, right?
I've been a little bit more critical of Stefan Feld lately because I believe his earlier titles were his glory days.
Oh,
it's kind of like the band, like a band headed like Sweet Spots, Sweet Era, and everything. A latest release by Stefan Feld was Carpe Diem, and that was a return back to classic Feld from what I gather. So if you have a chance to pick up Carpe Diem, I think you would really enjoy that one as well. But
okay, I'm making a shopping list.
But yes, Stefan Feld again just fell just right out of my top, but still in my top 10, top 6. He does something like, we're going with those earlier experiences. Castles of Burgundy is in a lot of people's tops. Like it's really hard to come out from that one. But just what he does now, what he's been doing lately, it's kind of like he's trying to get a little. I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to get creative.
Trying to get back into the groove.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Beatles in the later in their career and everything.
Yeah, the White Album. Yeah.
So
now I've offended a whole bunch of Beatles fans. Okay, so you're number 2. So Stefan Feld, that was my number 3. You're number 2, man.
Okay, my number 2 is a designer that I follow a lot on social media, and they create lots of content about their design process, and they explain it very, very well, and they create lots of top videos that release every weekend. Very engaged with his community. And this is Jamie Stegmaier.
Yeah.
Jamie Stegmaier is the designer of like one of my favorite games of all time, Scythe. Was my favorite game of all time for a long time. Scythe, I own everything. I've blinged it out completely 100%. You introduced me to Euphoria, which was another fantastic. It's a fantastic dice worker placement game. Logan's Run,
Logan's Run, the game.
We call it. One of our favorite games to play together is Viticulture.
Yes,
we love Viticulture. It's so good, and that's another
any iteration.
And that's another good game that reverse engineer it, because I know how to. Okay, this is how you score the points. Now, how do you score the points? You got to create the wines. How do you create the wines? You need to get the grapes. How do I get the grapes? You got to plant the vines.
Yeah,
a whole process.
And the cards. And the connectivity with the cards, and I'm so glad you picked this one.
Yeah, and then his designs lately, they have been a little hit and miss. I've still really enjoyed them. I really enjoyed Tapestry. I know a lot of people that I've played Tapestry with, they were like, this is but I believe that it does have a sweet spot to it, and there was some balance issues in the beginning, but he's come out and corrected a bunch of those things. Red Rising, like you just put on the back there, really cool twist on that Fantasy Realms style of card play with the IP that I don't know much about, but I really enjoy the game.
Yeah.
And the production. What he does with his production of all of his games is top notch. And he's very forthcoming. Like if you read his blogs, he's very active. He does not hide anything.
Yeah.
This game has this price point because of XYZ.
Yeah. He's pretty transparent when it comes to how things are dispersed and how resources are applied.
Yeah. And then he also has the Stonemaier Games Game Day, where he's trying to find some new talent. That's where he found that game Pendulum by Travis Jones. He's picked up games like Wingspan by Elizabeth Hargrave, which is now sold over 1 million copies worldwide, which is an amazing stat.
Yeah,
he saw something in that game that no one else had saw, or he was the first person to see this game and said, I need to pick this up because somebody else is going to take this one away from me.
Yeah, there's a gem.
So Jamie Stegmaier, again, he's very active in his community. Pay attention to his blogs. He releases out a video, I think, every Sunday of like his top something. Yeah. And he just picks a topic, and then as Stonemaier ambassadors, we can actually contribute to those blogs too. We can suggest games. He sends out an email every now and then, but he's very active. Very active. And he's a disc golfer, which I didn't actually know until like a little while ago, and that's credit in my books. I really enjoy disc golf as well. I'm not avid into it, but it's a very fun like little pastime.
Yeah, you went off on a tangent there. Good job. Cool. So that was my number 2.
Dose.
Yeah, and yeah, Euphoria. I love that game. That's what I'm so glad we got to talk about him, because he would have totally made my top 10. Okay, now here's one. Here's my number 2, and I'm gonna put it in the notes here so you can follow along. And he is also part of a design team, but has contributed his own content. And I'm just gonna come out and say it's Xavier Georges. I'm just going to crank through some of the games, and then I'll talk about what I love. So there's Black Angel, there's Carnegie, there's Carson City, there's Ginkopolis, there's Royal Palace, there's Trois, Trois the dice game, and I think Tournay is in the style of Trois, but Xavier Georges has such a knack for, at least for me, for being very creative in the application of whatever mechanism is involved in relation to the theme. Now, like Carson City is probably one of my favorite worker placement games because it's an interactive worker placement where you thematically get to shoot people on the tile. That's like, we're having a gun shootout for this tile, right? And it follows that idea of Kalis, where you're on this road of action triggers, and it is so much fun in the idea that you're building the city building, the small town. Now I have yet to play Carnegie. Black Angel is you can't talk about Black Angel without talking about Trois. Now Trois is the all dice driven, but the dice are related to the buildings in this medieval town that you're trying to rebuild. And what I love about that game too is once again this nudging activity back and forth is that the dice necessarily aren't yours because the others can buy them from you. And you still get a benefit, you get paid for it. But man, do you ever want that red 6, because that military die could get you so many points, right? So there's this idea of, I don't want to roll too hot, but I just want to roll average, and I want the buildings that I put my worker placement, again, this crazy fusion of worker placement and dice driven selection. My head blows up. Now Black Angel takes that idea of the dice driven worker placement and puts it into a space theme with a very creative idea of how you're scrolling through space as you're encountering certain objectives in this kind of two-dimensional video game scrolling idea. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And that scrolling mechanism is the timer of the game. I was so connected to that because, like I said, it just didn't replace Trois, but took that same idea and went, hey, what if we give it a right turn or put a NOS kit on this engine and see what happens? There's also Carson City, the card game, which is a great reinterpretation of the game itself. Now, you have this game. I played it once at Terminal City Tabletop Convention in Vancouver with the Kelowna Cartel. And it's Ginkopolis. Yeah. Man, am I so happy that this game is coming out again. And you have a copy. You went unicorn hunting for this one. Yeah. And I don't know if you've played it yet, but
we played it a couple times. And
not just tile placement, but stacking tile placement. What? Right? And of course, I believe there's worker placement as well, because there's a bit of area control. The approach to all the mechanisms is so clever and so intuitive at the same time. So yeah, you let's hear what you have to say about Xavier.
I've enjoyed all of the plays of the couple plays of Ginkopolis that I played with Jen. Fantastic game. Trois, man, I love that combo hunting.
Oh yeah.
Once you find something and you know what to do with it, like exploit the crap out of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those are really my only real two experiences with Xavier, but man.
Now there's
so
one
good.
There's one that I haven't mentioned yet. Now we have a segment called the Hype Train where you talk about games that need to be loved. Royal Palace, to me, that I don't know why that's not as impressive as all these other titles, because it is just as astounding in its application of worker, sort of an action point selection meets worker placement meets area control on another side. Oh, it's another great game. So yeah, and Royal Palace, that's a 2008, so we're going like early on in his career. So cool. Yeah, that's my number 2, Xavier Georges.
Right on.
Now the number ones.
The number 1 spot.
One.
And I'm pretty sure I cheated. Because it's not one designer.
Oh, cheater.
It's a trio. that they are always working with each other on all of these other games.
Oh, I think I know.
And we often refer to it as like, you know, the Italian mafia of board game design. And this is the designers of Simone Luciani, Virginio Gigli, and Daniele Tessini. What these guys do together and their Euros that they create are mind-melting brilliance. My favorite games of all time have come from these designers. The Voyages of Marco Polo, the Grand Austria Hotel, Coimbra, are all like just a few examples of what they create together. Zolkin, the Mayan calendar they've created. And very, very seldom they don't design a game by themselves. They're usually it's a partnership, it's a duo. Sometimes it's a collaboration amongst all three of them. Sometimes it's a collaboration with somebody else other than from this trio. But it's this network of designers that they have in Italy there that they all collaborate with one another. What they create, crunchy, delicious. We say this word, delicious Euros. And yeah, like they just created some of my favorite games, and they have some more coming out. Simone Luciani is on the design team for this game called Golem that's coming out. And that's right. And it's got a lot of buzz created around it that it's Newton. There's another one. There's another one that they created that I don't have a lot of experience with.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. So, man, Simone Luciani and Daniele Tessini and Virginio Gigli, man,
Bee Gees.
Man, they just are so good. I could just keep going on and on about them, but I just keep saying the exact same things over and over again. Lorenzo Il Magnifico is another one by Simone. Barrage, which I don't think you've played yet, but Barrage.
That is on my list of wants for sure.
So, man, lots of things.
Good pick.
Sorry that I cheated a little bit in the top pick, but they're so these three are so interconnected that I couldn't just pick just one of them because they're never really ever listed as just one designer.
It's a braid. It's a braid of these three that you like. Cool.
Yeah. And if I had to pick a favorite out of all of them, Zolkin, the Mayan calendar, is phenomenal.
All right.
Phenomenal worker placement game.
All right. Okay. This might not be a surprise. I'm going to pop it in the notes here. But my number one, and I think you can see it starts right here and works its way all the way down that way. And that is Martin Wallace. And I never knew that I was a Martin Wallace fan until I started needing more space in my library for Martin Wallace games, because this one's good. I love this one. This one's great. So I'm going to quickly run through. I could run through, the list could go on, but I'm going to give you kind of like the top ones. Brass, Age of Steam, Railways of the World, London 2nd Edition, A Few Acres of Snow, Automobile, recently, Struggle of Empires. I think there's a new one out. Australia, Anno 1800. I just got my Kickstarter of Tinner's Trail, Studying Emerald, Wildlands. Liberté. There's just, the list keeps going on and on. What drives me to like Martin Wallace is I think that as a designer, he finds a milieu and sits in it for a while and explores it. Let's talk about the card-driven games that he has, right? He's got the trilogy of A Few Acres of Snow, and
Mythotopia,
and a handful of stars.
Yeah.
Those are all that card driven. Now we could say, okay, that's great. And then he takes that idea and does something crazy like Wildlands, which is kind of like a paintball game in a fantasy realm where there's a brilliant mechanism called interrupt, where in the middle of somebody else's turn, if you have the right card, you can interrupt and you can go in for the steal and the point, and it's a race, right? Just the different approaches. That doesn't sits in, like I said, sits in a milieu, right? But doesn't sit in a mechanism too long. He'll take this card idea and see how many different ways can you make this work. We can talk about the influence of the train games, the pickup and delivery, right? There's Steam, there's Railways of the World, there's Age of Steam. I mean, I've got the Eagle Griffin release and the solo on it.
I'm jealous,
know, right? Just the ideas of the networking connectivity and the relationship, economic relationship. I mean, okay, let's talk of Martin Wallace. You can't talk about Martin Wallace without talking about economy,
loans, and going bankrupt.
Yeah, bankruptcies and poverty and loans, right? That it's just this razor's edge all the time of being in the red and you know it's just London second edition. What a fun card-driven engine building game. Now, if you like engine building games, this one's great because it's engine building game after, because you basically make a street lineup of an engine that you set up, and then you run it. And once you run it, you pitch it and you start over again. And wow, man, this is like putting together hot rods one after another, as far as how the synergy of your economy is driven with the I mean, it's a Euro game, victory points, right? This, like you said about your favorite number ones, I could go on. Automobile, like, and the themes that he brings to the application of the mechanisms isn't trivial. They're applicable, right? Automobile is such a great economic game. You've never played it. I think you'd love it. This is the one that we picked up at the flea sale at FallCon. And I just saw the edge of it and went, oh, yes, please. Australia. I'm not a big Cthulhu fan, but Australia and the A Study in Emerald, those are such great games.
I really enjoyed Study in Emerald.
Yeah,
that one's a fantastic one. That one's hard to find right now, but man, if you get a chance to play that one, it is so cool in the hidden information game that's going on inside of the actual game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's, I mean, yeah, I can't get enough of some. I mean, there's other games that we could continually talk about, but Brass, Kate, you tell me what you like about Brass, Ryan, because you I think you've got Birmingham and Lancashire, don't you?
Yeah, because I went in on the Kickstarter that got both of them at a discounted price. But yeah, Brass is a fantastic economic game of building out your networks. And that the game has two phases to it. There's the canal phase and then there's the rail phase. And everything that you build in the canal phase, like eventually those networks go away and everything. And if you did manage to buy into some advanced factories or tiles and anything like that into the cities, everything gets wiped off the board. And you have to start off from scratch again by building up your railway network. And hopefully you've built up an income because, man, dollars are hard to come by in a Martin Wallace game, and hopefully you've built up an income. And in that game, if you're taking a loan, you got to take out the maximum. If you're not taking out the maximum loan when you do it, you're doing the game wrong. You have to be able to do.
If you're not going in the hole, you're not playing it right.
And that one's so cool where it's player driven with the economy. Like, I have coal on the board, and if you can access coal from me, you have to buy it from me rather than buying it from the market type of thing. Like it has to come off the board first. And then if you clear off coal off my factory, then it gets flipped over for points, and I also get income.
Well, the history teacher in me, we often use this word, the history teacher in me looks at the thematic concept of this game because it's based on the Industrial Revolution. And I find it so delicious because everything has a relevant connection to that historical period. So yeah, Martin Wallace, yay. That's mine. That's the surprise for me was, I guess he is, it's like, which games would I rather play compared to the other ones? So yeah. Wow. That was such a, you know what? Just for everybody else's thoughts, we were jokingly going, our lists are going to be identical. And I said, oh yeah, we'll have 3 matches. And you said,
I think I said 2, but then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. We had 1.
Vital, and that was a respectable match.
Now,
in the right position.
If we extended it to the top 10, I think there would be a lot more crossover. But man,
cool.
Some great designers, and there's still more great designers out there that we have not mentioned. These were our top 5s. It's hard. I forgot to mention this in probably the honorable mentions, but the design team at Fantasy Flight Games that create the living card games. One of my favorite design teams. Nate French is at the heart of all of those LCGs. He's on the Lord of the Rings, Marvel Champions, and on the Arkham, and he was
trilogy.
And he was also part of the Legend of the Five Rings, which I was also part of. I really enjoyed too. So he had his hand in all of those, and then of course all the tremendous designers and all, like MJ Newman is part of the Arkham Horror lineup, and I'm blanking on the name right now, but it's part of my other champions too. Caleb Grace is also on that one. So
right on.
There we go.
What a fantastic episode. Yay, we got to it. So and if you've gotten to this part with us, thank you so much for listening. And I'm your host, Norm.
And I haven't designed anything yet. Ryan.
And we'll catch you later. Yay!
Woohoo!
That was a gooder.
That's awesome. Ciao, folks. Whoever's watching us online. It looked like Matt Robertson from Regina was watching in, and he was commenting on the Facebook
cool.
page. He's writing down some comments here.
I'm on our YouTube one right now.
Yeah, nothing got posted into YouTube, but on Facebook, where I posted the link to this episode, Matt was having a conversation.
Right on.
Cool. Okay. I'm getting better at outroing us. There it is. Ciao.
Ciao.